Hi, Roy here on my channel Roy Reads Anything, which is a booktube channel about books that are old books that are strange or interesting or just weird. And this time I'm doing a tag, the Rootin Tootin June on the Range tag, which I will endeavour to make both Rootin and Tootin in roughly equal measure. So, June on the Range is a booktube event in June, originated by Michael K. Vaughan, and it's about reading westerns, which I've never participated in before. I wasn't aware of booktube last June, so looking forward to doing that. And Steve Donahue originated this tag, which is sort of exploring our lives as in relation to westerns. And I was tagged specifically by Sean D. Standfast. So let's get into the questions. Number one, a ways out west. Have you ever been to the American West? Well, that's an easy one. No, have been to America, Pennsylvania, New England, Florida, but that's it. So not even in the western direction, really. Although in fiction, in the great shared world that is the world of the Western, I feel like I could find my way around one of those towns blindfolded, just because it's so well established. But I guess we'll get to that a bit later. Number two, Dry Gulch. What's the smallest town you've ever visited? It's a difficult one to answer that, really, without a sort of gazetteer or something. No, so this is me intervening later at the editing stage to say the smallest town I've ever visited has to be Argleton. Argleton, a town so small that it does not even actually exist. So this was a town that showed up on Google Maps, and because it was on Google Maps, despite the not existing thing, lots of other websites use Google Maps as a source of information. So it was showing up as having a taxi company, schools, shops, all sorts of things, all the things you'd expect in a town.
Except a town.
Except except there's no town there. Um, I read about that on a friend's blog post, made a trip to the place, so I've actually visited the spot. Um, and that led to all sorts of other things, and it became like a byword for one of these kind of phantom settlements. So Argleton, population 0, physical area 0, clocking that as the smallest town I've ever been to. Back to the rest of the video. How small is your town right now? Well, where we live, a town called Ormskirk in Lancashire, the population is about 30,000.
So it was nearer 33.
Nearer 33.
Nearer
Well,
33.
I won't argue with that. So that's a pretty small, town, and it's a market town with a university in it, which I suppose means you've got a shifting population because you might have thousands of students at sometimes a year.
All annoying the people.
No, fortunately, there's zero friction between the students and the rest of the town. Question 3. Where the buffalo roam. Have you ever seen an American bison in person? No. But we have seen many European bison.
We have indeed.
At a place called the Highland Wildlife Park, which is up in Scotland, obviously. And they've got not only European bison, but other huge 4-footed animals like yak
and camels.
There are camels that seem to be in the process of shedding their coats.
Yeah, they're not untidy brutes.
Yeah, that's animals.
They've got
for you.
vicuña, but they're not really very big.
So
musk ox.
Okay, so And we haven't shot them either. They think that's frowned upon. But yeah, we've got close, but not seen an American bison.
Have you seen a
Question
pudding
4.
bison? Sorry.
Question 4. Old Doc Fry. What's your history with westerns, novels, TV, movies? Well, pretty much the first thing I remember in terms of what was on television when I was a little kid. It was the Virginian, Bonanza, High Chaparral. I was seeing Western stuff on TV when I was too young to even know what it was. I can remember thinking that when you saw like horses galloping along with dust rising up behind them, that somehow it was smoke coming out of their hooves. And I was like, okay, how does this smoke? Well, I didn't say how does this smoke come out. I was confused by the smoke. Also, Lone Ranger was on as a cartoon series. So they've always been around, and I suppose it was a mainstay of cinema, and therefore that fed through to television as well. So, total familiarity with the form because of that. And then started reading westerns quite late, really. I read some in my early 20s, mainly the Edge books, Edge, as seen on this very T-shirt, and a few other things like that. And then I came back to that in this century, more recently. So, and also read, like, since then, I read loads and loads of westerns, ranging from the sort of the literary end, as I think of it, of people like Cormac McCarthy, through to let's get this out again, because I think adult westerns such as this, Buckskin number 39.
Don't do it, man. Don't do it. Do you want to describe to the viewers what I'm
big
doing?
history. That's it. Dr. Jenny's giving up in despair. I think you should read it. That would be the ultimate June on the Range and or Garb August thing would be for you to read an adult western.
We'll see.
You can read it on Kindle. There's millions on Kindle Unlimited.
Challenge accepted.
Maybe you can read one of the revisionist feminist ones if you like Lady Guns. But you're going to read this.
You've read that very well.
Buckskin number 39.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on.
I will be rooting, and I
the
will
city
be
slicker from back east. What do you consider the... Oh, hang on, sorry, I'm getting the questions out of order. Number 5, Diamond Lil at the Rialto Saloon. What's your relationship with alcohol? Have you ever had a friendship with a bartender? Right, so I haven't had any alcohol for like coming up to 9 years. I think in July that'll be 9 years I haven't had a drink of any description, and let's just say I had my share already. That is one thing. Also, I think like sports cars and skinny jeans, it looks better on young people. So it's a past relationship. As for have I ever had a friendship with a bartender, not to sort of seeing them outside the bar level, I suppose, except when I was a bartender with other bartenders.
Apart from the staff bar people.
Yeah, but the staff bar, they were also staff.
Yeah, I suppose, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I would be friendly with the bar staff in various places, partly because my favoured time and place of drinking would be not the massive Friday night, 9 o'clock, everything's buzzing, there's thousands of people there, more like the off hours, the sort of mid-afternoon when it's very quiet. It's a good time for chatting to bar people. So, yes, moving on. Number 6, the city slicker from back east. What do you consider the best Western you've ever read? Well, some that keep coming up in these videos, like True Grit, yes, really good. Shane, really good. I will be reading Lonesome Dove shortly, so we'll see about that, but I can't comment yet because I haven't read it. A really good classic Western I would name is Incident at Butler's Station by Richard Wyler, and it's actually by Mike Lineker, who's written lots of Westerns, including a Piccadilly Cowboy series called Bodie. And he also writes a lot of Matt Bolan executioner books. But Incident at Butler Station is a really good setup, builds the tension across a bunch of characters. But I will say the best, I'm going to say A.B. Guthrie, The Big Sky. Not ruling out its 3 sequels either. I think there's The Way West, These Thousand Hills, Fair Land, but the A.B. Guthrie, The Big Sky, really has that sense of what it's like being on the frontier with a sort of absolute freedom of being in nature. It's kind of nature writing in a way as much as a Western. So I really recommend those. A.B. Guthrie, The Big Sky. Number 7, The Man with a Badge. Have you ever been in charge of other people? What's the most authority you've ever handled? Would you be good at it? So, yes, not only have I had managed people, I think my team when I was at work, probably about 20 or sometimes as many as 30 people. I did sometimes wear a sheriff's badge. So yes, I did have authority. First rule of leadership, don't just shoot everybody. Number 8, the Tombstone Kid. Have you ever fired a gun, been a gun aficionado, or been shot? Not been shot. I wouldn't call myself a gun aficionado. I have fired, the live rounds I fired were 2.2 rifle target shooting ones. Did that for a little bit with my dad. Didn't really catch on for me. I know my dad's very proud of having been, when he was in the RAF, shot at Bisley. So Bisley is a firing range, and that's where the best marksmen go. I think James Bond goes there to sort of test fire a new weapon before going out on missions. So yes, I've fired guns. I've also when I was when I'm going to have to cut this little bit out. I'm fluffing a little bit. I've decided not to worry about the ums, because I think that's just normal punctuation of spontaneous speech. But I think if you get completely tongue-tied or just spout gibberish or start speaking in tongues and rolling on the floor, foaming at the mouth, that kind of thing, I'll cut those bits out. Yeah. What are we talking about? Oh yes, the George G. Gilman Appreciation Society. When that illustrious group of literary scholars used to meet up, one of the guys used to bring some replica weapons along. You probably couldn't really do this anymore, but like Winchesters, Colts, that kind of thing. So I've handled those on horseback as well, actually. But also, we once went to the Leeds Armories, which is part of the Imperial War Museum, and the same guy had communicated with them, told them we were a reenactment society, and so we got a behind-the-scenes tour by like the curator who was responsible for the Western weapons, and he produced all sorts of things and let us hold them and stuff like that. So I've seen like the real stuff from back in the day. The one I remember is a Colt 45 that had been owned by a guy called Tunstall, who I think he was Billy the Kid's boss. Oh, wow. So, and this must be true because they're the Imperial War Museum, so they don't just make stuff up. So handled a Colt 45, and it's big, it's heavy, and that's without the bullets in it. So it did make me realise that when people are, fast draws and that kind of thing, you'd need to be pretty powerful to actually do that, just because it's a big hunk of metal. But I don't know, not a great lover of guns per se, but that's my gun history. Probably the first, coming back to the prevalence of westerns, first day at school, so you arrive at this thing called school, you're into a playground and there's people running around and playing, and we're natural cowboys and Indians was the game. And the first thing that I learned was that if you're pretending your hand is a gun, you use 2 fingers for the barrel, not just one. Like somebody actually schooled me in this to get it right. So, well, I think that's just an example of how so built in were westerns. It was naturally what a bunch of 4 and 5-year-olds would do in the playground. Number 9. It ain't the bullet that gets you, it's the fall. How would you ideally like to cash in your chips? I would say, like Top Cat, with dignity. That's what I'll say about preferred mode of dying. Good end, I think, to the tag. Thanks for listening, everybody. Back soon with something else.